So friends, today we're going to run through one of my buy-to-lets and we're going to run through the figures. I'm also going to share 5 lessons that I highly believe will help you guys. What I always say is every single deal will teach you something regardless of how long you've been doing this. And I've been doing this over 10 years and still I learn something new every single time. So what I do want to share is obviously this was a long time ago when I purchased this. It was a straightforward buy-to-let purchase and it's taught me a lot of stuff, but it's also been a great deal. So it is actually this little house here. So it's actually, in my opinion, the best house on the street. Although, full transparency, I hadn't viewed every single house, but from the outside, you can see it was really well kept. It was with a family. They had a child and they were looking for another child. They were having another child on the way, and essentially they were looking to move into a slightly bigger property. So it's really, really well kept, really well maintained. And again, I'll run through some of the pros and cons of this deal when we go through the figures in a short amount of time. So again, standard terraced, and this was on the market for £80,000 initially. So just very quickly, I mean, I just typed it into Google just very quickly, just trying to get some of the information up. Now, as you can see here, it was purchased in 2017 by myself for 80,000. Listen, they're thinking it's worth 120,000. I don't think it's worth that. My last mortgage tells me it was close to 100k. However, if it's 120k, fantastic. That just shows how much capital appreciation you can gain through property. But I will say it's in a great location and it is right next to a hospital. Following that, I'm just going to quickly show you some photos and then we will run through the figures. So again, guys, as you can see here, I mean, next door really had some rendering problems on the outside. It wasn't really well maintained. It was actually rubbish, I remember here. So sometimes this should be, and it definitely should be for yourselves, a bit of an alarm bell for you to think, well, what are the neighbors like? What's this kind of area like? However, when we went into this property, I knew that it was, one, I thought it was in an area where the rental demand was extremely high because I did my research prior to this, but also the house was a lot bigger and well kept than you would have imagined. So I'm not sure if the photos are going to do it justice, but let's just quickly run through them, guys. The kitchen was nice and big. It had this natural brick throughout, which I don't know, I really liked it. It was in the hallways and stuff. It looked really, really cool. At the back here, you can see here, just waving my mouse, that was actually a conservatory. And then it did go back into a garden as well. So very, very spacious, because before this area, again, that's just another kitchen photo. I'm just going to quickly try and explain something. So yeah, so just before the kitchen, you actually have this little room here. So again, a nice, decent size, should we call it a living room, dining room? Probably a living room. And then if I just quickly run back, sorry, I'm all over the place here. This was actually the room. As soon as you walk in through the corridor of the entrance, there was actually a little room here. It was a decent space. You could get like a two-piece sofa here. But going down here where the mouse is, there was actually a man cave, which I'm not sure is on the photos, but I will have a look for you guys now. This is obviously an old listing. This is a conservatory. The photos are all over the shop, my friends. This is one of the bedrooms. The conservatory again, the master bedroom, this was again really, really big. Had a bit of a problem with this about 3 years later. The roof decided to fall down, but that's a story for another day. This was the bathroom. They've shown that photo again. They've shown that photo again. Okay, so the agent wasn't the greatest at taking photos, but essentially I'm just going to quickly show you the floor plan entrance. This is where we came in, and this was that initial room where I mentioned the sofa and the man cave. There is a cool little man cave here. That was that dining room, living room area, the kitchen. Then obviously they called it a reception room, but it was a conservatory, which you saw about 30 photos of. They've called the man cave a storage room here. Now upstairs is where it got interesting, because you saw the master bedroom. There was a smaller bedroom where it had the kids' cot. There was a bathroom, landing, and actually upstairs here, there was access to the loft. And essentially, the guy was pretty cool. He had converted it into like another man cave. He had two, one upstairs, one downstairs. And it was really cool because it had like all old like computer games and video consoles and stuff like that. I don't know. I was a bit of a nerd with that kind of stuff back in the day, and I just found it really quirky. So guys, now what we're going to do is we're going to run through the deal analysis side of this, and then we're going to run through the 5 lessons that I promised you guys. So very, very quickly. So under this little, what is it, purple white box, I do have some information. I'm not going to share it all straight away because you may click off the video, and I need you guys to stick around just for a little bit. 1, to help the channel, and 2, more importantly, for you guys to learn something that will hopefully help you in your investment journey. And then we're going to run through 5 very, very quick lessons. So as you guys know, it costs £80,000 to purchase it. And also, I know many of you are going to ask in the comments below, you can get this deal Analyser for free. It's on my Skillshare. Essentially, it's got a BRR type, and I'm pressing the wrong stuff. Sorry. It's got the buy, refurbish, refinance, rent model spreadsheet there. And then it's also got one just for buy to let. So if you want it, it's free. I will also be doing more classes on the Skillshare as well. Probably more educational ones like this. Unless, of course, you find them useful, I can throw them on here. So purchase price, my friends, was $80,000. Stamp duty was obviously payable on this. Now, solicitor fees, I paid £1,000 for this particular one. And I actually paid £350 for a broker as well. So if you just keep going down, Don't worry too much about all these sales. I'm just going to let you guys know, especially if you're new, the kind of stuff you want to be looking for. So there was no maintenance. Again, the house was really well kept. We paid the initial estate agents for a deep clean just before we put tenants into that property. And essentially that was about, I don't know, about £100. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to lie to you guys. And then we've got other costs, obviously, like, you know, your EPC, which you want to be doing, your gas safety, you need to be doing every year. I think it's about £45 actually. I just done a recent one on another property. And then you got your insurance. So just allocate 150. Again, you can probably get it cheaper on moneysupermarket.com or comparison websites. I think this was with Churchill or AXA Insurance. It's one of them, my friends. Then after that, we have the mortgage now. So initially the mortgage was 60K. So this is obviously an old spreadsheet because we did get it refinanced and it did go up 10,000, I think, within the first 2 years, which was in 2019. And obviously I'm waiting till 2024 for the new figure. Maybe it's 120K by then. Who knows, my friends? But essentially 60K was a mortgage. 20,000 was obviously the deposit. The mortgage payments were £150. Was it exactly 150? I feel like it was 150 something. But yeah, let's just say 150 at 3.5% for at 25 years. The rent initially was £650, which is fantastic if you ask me from a return on investment standpoint. Cash flow. So what I normally do with my cash flow, and again, you guys can do how you please, how it suits you based on your risk appetite. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm putting 10% away every single month for voids and maintenance. Now, obviously be mindful that you've got tax and stuff to pay, but again, I don't know everyone's tax situation, and that's something that just make sure you pay it and you're aware of. And essentially what you can do here, again, it's totally up to you. You can also, within this spreadsheet, just take off what the management fee will be. So initially when we had this for the first year, we had a management agent in there. I now self-manage it. So I've managed it from 2018 onwards with the same tenant in place. And again, these are just your figures. Your ROI is 22.5. I do have separate ones here, just kind of showing the total acquisition cost, the total return per year, and the ROI. Now, I want to run through just a couple of things that I think are really important because, like I said, every single deal is completely different. And there are 5 lessons that I think will help you with this. By the way, I hope this is useful, guys. Please do ask any questions and I'll try my absolute best. Again, like I always say, I'm just a normal person. I've been doing this for over 10 years, but I'm still learning stuff every day. So I'm sure I can learn some stuff from some of you smarty pants in the comments too. So first mistake I made was I didn't negotiate. And I know that might sound really silly. It might sound really stupid, but there is a common misconception that landlords are out there stealing these properties away from, you know, other people buying it. It was not the case. We literally had a bit of money saved. Essentially, we were thinking, well, what should we do with this 20,000? And one of our dreams, both of us growing up from very, very poor backgrounds, was like, well, should we try and get like an additional property? You know, it'd be great to have, maybe pass on to the kids one day in the future. And essentially that's what we did. So we had a budget in mind. We worked backwards. We thought, okay, we got about 25 to 30 grand spare. Let's have a look at what we can do. And essentially that brought us to this one, but we never negotiated. Now we got on with the family. They were lovely. They explained the situation. Perhaps we could have got 5-10 grand off it. Maybe not 10, at least 5 grand, but there was no negotiation whatsoever. They said their price. We got on with them. It was really well kept. And they liked us and they were like, if you guys will put an offer in, we'd love to, you know, sell it to you guys. And then we were like, okay, brilliant. And that was it. Nothing profound, just that was the story. So always negotiate. One thing I didn't do, for full transparency, was know my ROI or what I wanted from the deal. And I know I preach a lot about that, guys. Know your figures beforehand. Know what you want from that particular deal before you start. I mean, we landed on our feet here because I still think that's a really decent return, but it could have been worse. So make sure you know those figures first, guys. Don't be stupid like me. Then, of course, because it was close to a hospital, we had the option, obviously you've seen the floor plan now, where you could have probably got at least 3 people in there. 3 people, potentially 350 per month, 400 per month, I don't know. There is a potential where you could have maybe got more cash flow. Now, obviously at this time, I wasn't thinking like that. We were just thinking this is something for almost like a retirement pot, like our kind of pension pot that we just put away. So that is obviously something. Always look at when you go into a deal, how many ways can you extract value from this? How many ways can you add value? These are really important questions you want to be asking yourselves. Another mistake was I should have brought more. And one thing I am pretty decent at, or at least I like to consider I'm okay at, is the ability to raise finance. I think I'm pretty decent at raising finance. And as a result of that, one thing I could have potentially done is maybe raised a little bit of finance and then look to buy 1 or 2 more. Because if we're going to get that 120 in 2024 in terms of its valuation, maybe even higher, it's been a really, really great deal. Following this, solicitor fees. Now, I've paid more than £1,000 and I've paid a lot less than £1,000 for solicitor fees. But obviously through, you know, the progress of buying properties and learning more in this game, I reckon I could have at least saved £600-700 there, which at the end of the day, you know, that's over a month's cash flow. So shop around. Again, it's not always about price. Sometimes it's about speed. And I always say you should pay what somebody's worth, but I don't feel this solicitor warranted £1,000, especially when I've had others for like £350 for conveyancing, which have given me the same kind of results. Then we have agent. Now this is an interesting one, and I kept this to the end. So if you stay to the end, this is something that I think will be useful. A lot of you asked me about letting agents, how you should be letting out, should you be letting out, how to choose a letting agent. There's thousands of questions. Now what actually happened with this letting agent, crazy story, might as well share it if you're still with me, is they were stealing from me. So what had happened was they had told me, we've got yourselves a tenant for £600 per calendar month. Fantastic, like really happy with that. However, what they were doing was charging the tenant £650. So they were creaming off the top, but they wasn't letting us know that. So the tenants, were actually happy paying £650. We thought that we were getting £600, thinking brilliant. They were taking 10% off us, so we were getting £540 coming into our account every single month. And then what happened was, as it came to the first renewal, so the first year, they took their foot off the gas in terms of they didn't respond to a few emails. I got a little bit anxious. I was like, look, these tenants are brilliant. Our rent's getting paid every single month. I want to make sure that, you know, they're happy to stay there. So I emailed them, I rang them. They just didn't answer those first few days. I thought, well, I'm going to message the tenant myself. Now I messaged the tenant politely saying, hey guys, hope you're keeping well. Would you guys be looking to stay on a little bit? I'm trying to get through to the agent. They messaged back, say, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to stay with you guys. Are we still going to keep the rent the same? Sorry. And I said, yeah, absolutely. We'll keep the rent the same. And then they said, okay, brilliant. £650 it is. And I was like, £650? I thought you were paying me £600. And then all of a sudden, alarm bell started ringing. And I remember actually going to meet the tenant and I asked them the whole scenario, what was happening. And I was shocked because they were paying more than we were happy with, yet we were receiving less than essentially what we should have been receiving. So anyway, cut a long story short, I was fuming. The wife kept me at home that day, otherwise I would have probably done something stupid. Went down the next day, knocked on the office door in Birmingham, and I literally just made them essentially transfer me the money. And I remember the guy squirming when I called him out, and it was quite an awkward situation. There was two of them in the office, and I just said, listen, at the end of the day, you've been stealing from me. Essentially, I want all my money back. They said, okay, we can deal with that. You know, just give us a day. I said, no, I want it transferred now. They essentially transferred me the money there and then. I then got myself an AST, did all the stuff that you need to do as a landlord. And what I did do, and I'm not here trying to be holier than anyone else, I'm just a normal person, is I said, look guys, we were always happy with 600. And they kind of pulled on my heartstrings, and this isn't always a great tip, guys, for all you lot, because I know essentially it can be a business. The last thing I want to be doing now is making you guys overpay. So what I said is, look, guys, I'm happy with £600 per calendar month. You guys can save £50, put that towards, you know, you've got a new addition to your family. You guys have looked after the property. I truly appreciate that. You call it your home. I'm glad you call it your home. And we settled on 600. Now, I was taking 540 before. I'm now £60 up. They're £50 better off. It was a win-win situation. So anyway, long story short there, that was something. When it comes to agents, make sure you choose somebody who's reputable. Maybe you've got recommendations from that person, because there are some shady people out there. So with friends, if you found any of that useful, please do smash up that like button. Thank you so much for sticking around. And until next time, thanks for watching.